Welcome to the Morse Code Podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurially minded creatives in music, film, and writing. My name's Korby, and I'm hoping these conversations inspire you to push deeper into your own work, whether you're a full-time professional or just starting out on your own creative odyssey. I'm myself just trying to figure it out as I go along. Really excited to share this conversation with bassist Anton Nesbitt. Anton's played with everybody like Keb Mo, McCrary Sisters, Robin Ford, CeCe Winans. He's played on television soundtracks like The Nashville Show, Greenleaf. Dude's been everywhere. He's also played on a few tracks of mine. Soft-spoken, thoughtful. Anton has always been his own person, doing music his own way. If you get something out of the Morse Code Podcast, please like and subscribe. And now here's my conversation with Anton Nesbitt. Anton Nesbitt. Dude, thank you so much for making time for me.
Thank you for inviting me, man.
I've been looking forward to talking to you for 2 months.
Really? Why?
Because I love you, man. We never get to hang out. And,
it's been about pre-COVID, I think.
Pre-COVID. It was,
maybe before that.
I mean, the last meaningful musical time we hung out was when you brought your little girl over here.
Yeah,
and
I thought
you
about
and
that.
Lucas taped a song in the front yard.
I thought about that when I walked up.
Yeah, it's a little deja vu.
It's like, oh, new fence.
So I was gonna say, it's like the picket fence is the only thing that changed. But man, I'm really excited to talk to you. I don't even know where all of this is gonna go, but I've always admired you as a deep musician, and yeah, man. And you also have you have this other thing, which is you just exude gravitas. Wherever you go, you're doing it right now.
That's
you're
pretty
doing it
cool.
Right now.
That's pretty
effortless gravitas.
Dude, you just gave me some more confidence. Okay.
Oh man, that's what I'm here for. Well,
I was always hoping that no one ever looked at me as just a bass player.
I mean, for some that would be enough. You're not just a bass player. You're like a world-class bass player that's played with everyone from Leanne Rimes to BB and CeCe Winans to Robin Ford to Johnny Lang. I mean, the list goes on. I made a long list. I didn't even have to read it because all those people are so famous. But I thought we'd maybe... So like the point of this podcast is just to sort of talk about how artists that I've admired sort of found their way into this racket and then managed to sustain a career, across time. And sort of it's like to maybe encourage and inspire people that are on the same path or considering it. And to that end, I just am curious, how did this all get started for you? You're born in South Carolina,
yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Lake City?
Yep.
Did you have a musical family?
Yeah. My grandmother, my brother, my aunt, uncle, my grandmother's father, and her siblings played. And as a fact, it's something I like to tell. Her last name was Jones. My great grandfather was Cleveland Jones.
Yeah.
And reading Quincy Jones's book, he said his father's from Lake City, South Carolina. So that's.
So you're kin to Quincy.
I don't know. It's always.
I feel like
something that
can't be too hard to track down, I imagine.
Well, I met him in Switzerland, but so many people was around, I didn't get a chance to kind of
get that.
And I'm kind of kicking myself because I wish I would have been more forceful and aggressive. Yeah. But that's not really my personality. Yeah,
but
I wish I would have.
You wait for them to come to you.
Yeah.
He's coming. I bet.
But so started there, and I really don't know how. I think it found me. Because I really don't know how. I just remember being at church and a friend of ours named Dara Henley. He played guitar and bass, and he brought both of them to church to figure out which one he was gonna play. And I remember opening the case of the bass guitar and said, "I want to play that. That's what I want to play." And he was like, "Oh man, you could take it home." And that's how it started.
How old were you?
14, 15.
So you weren't like a little kid.
Yeah.
But you've been probably singing and...
So I was in the choir because my brother would teach the choir and I was a tenor.
And then your parents, they weren't like, no, don't get into music.
Actually, my grandfather would have very serious talks about me getting into music.
Because of the pitfalls along the way?
No, about like, you should get into music.
Oh.
And
yeah.
I think it took me in my 40s to realize, damn, he saw something that I didn't. Like, he would have, like, so I would take the bus home, but on days that it would rain, he would come pick me up because he was in construction. He had his own construction company, so he wouldn't work on days of rain. So he would pick me up. And I remember going back home on this slow drive home. I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And he was like, you really need to get into music. You got people around who can teach you. I think you should really consider. Now, this is a guy that's been was born in 1960, so it's that generational gap. He's telling me,
yeah,
to get in.
It took root.
Yeah,
like it was.
Well, I was defiant a little bit because he wanted me to play the piano, which I do regret I did. I do regret I did, but I'm like, I'm gonna play the bass, you know. I just play the bass because that's part of my personality. I'm a silent, defiant person.
Yeah. So it was what you're saying. Did that come out of a little bit of like, all right, Grandpa, I'll play music, but I'm gonna do exactly what you want me to do. This is my own thing.
Right.
And then did you play pretty quick? Were you gigging outside of church or?
I started about 16, 17. I started gigging in public. Because my brother would teach me the songs. That's how I learned the notes.
By ear mostly, or charts, or both?
No, he would call out the notes. I didn't read anything. And he would just call out the notes, and I would remember the songs.
And your brother played?
Piano.
Okay.
Yeah. And
does he still play?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did he play professionally like you did?
A little bit. He did Yolanda Adams and did stuff with Richard Smallwood and some other stuff, but not. No. I tried to get him come, but
life's too good in Carolina.
I don't know. I would say that. I don't know.
Well, that's maybe a good segue because at some point you did move, and so that's a big leap for my version of that story, like a lot of us, and not from here. And at some point I was like, I guess I'm going to do it. Yeah, and that's a huge moment.
Oh yeah,
for anybody's life.
Yeah, very.
So what prompted that for you? Did you have something waiting for you here? Or?
I did have something waiting for me, but it fell through.
Classic.
And I remember, actually I was at USC, University of South Carolina, doing a gig, and I got the call, and it fell through. I was supposed to come here and do a church gig, classic, Yeah. The easiest way to make money as a musician.
And even that didn't quite pan out.
It still didn't pan out, which was man, I'm just realizing that was the story. That was kind of like, almost kind of, that's not why you're moving to Nashville anyway. So I had to make a decision. I remember saying, you know what, I'm going anyway. Fear, the unknown, I'm going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just leaving.
Yeah. And you were young man,
26.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, not too.
Yeah, so you had like a steady, familiar thing, fairly musically reliable.
Yeah.
You had gigs, you knew, and then
for that area and that time period,
But then to have that and trade that for a big fat question mark, is a lot, and something that not everybody can do. Yeah, and I
didn't know I could do it. But
same. When I think back to that, like I'm a homebody, and I've moved 3 times in my life. Once was when I graduated from high school. I went to college, and then the next time was my college town to Seattle, which was an hour and a half away. Yeah. That's not a terrible big move. And then the third time was when I moved from Seattle to Nashville.
Oh,
and looking back, I'm just like, I cannot believe I did that. That's so unlike me, And then after a while, and when I first landed, it was kind of similar, a version of that, where like I won the song contest first week I was there.
Oh, wow.
And then this indie label loved this record that I made in Seattle and licensed it and put it out, and I was like, man, this is great. This is it took me so long.
Yeah.
And then cut to like 7 months later, the indie label's gone. I have no money. I'm a 2,500 miles away from my fan base. I'm like, and I'm just like another guy in town writing songs.
What year was that?
06 or 07 probably. Wow. I heard you moved here in 04.
04, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't too far behind you. But man, at that point, 7 months here is like out of the question to move back.
Yeah.
There's just no way I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
Pride, probably more than anything. But okay, so we're not talking about me though. So you got here, and it worked out. You picked up another gig or two.
Yeah, I slept on the floor for about 4 months.
Yeah,
somebody for. And when I moved in May. In June or July, I got offered. Actually, it's a crazy story. This guy I met when I moved here, he passed away now. Terrence Chaney, he's a keyboard player. So he was telling everybody I could play, but he never heard me play. He was just going off of people he know that that I could play. And so June, July, moving here in May, June, July, I got offered to be in the house band. I don't know if you remember the show, Bobby Jones Gospel.
I don't.
On BET.
Okay.
So I was offered that to be on this global, actually, show.
That was one of your first gigs?
That was my first.
So I guess it did work out.
So I went from South Carolina to being on TV every Sunday morning with all at the time, the top gospel artists.
Man, your grandpa must have been so proud.
He was, because he would always get on me about watching TV. Yeah. He'd be like, why are you watching them? What are you doing?
Yeah. Man, he drove a hard bargain.
Yeah. So when I got on TV, I called him like, yo, check me out on TV. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so great. There's nothing like being on TV to like validate your experience with your parents, kinfolk. I look forward to that moment for myself. Okay, so at that point you have that gig. That's a steady gig, and it's like
it's like a seasonal
thing, but like once a week or whatever it is.
Well, it was like
in a row,
but like when it first started, it was like maybe a week of the year, but you're doing like 3 shows a day. Mm-hmm. So, but I was happy about that. Better than what I was doing in South Carolina. Yeah, man.
And then also now you're here, you got a steady gig. It's always, once you got one gig, it's so much easier to get another one because now you're like vetted. And so after that, did you pretty much, did you tour a bunch? Like at what point, maybe let me say this, and then I have my own personal anecdote about when we met. What point did you kind of get like the Leanne gig, or like
I didn't get the Leanne gig till later, like maybe 6 years ago. Yeah. So before that, 2011 maybe is when I started getting gigs. Like it was in 2000, maybe 2011. I was starting to get gigs that with artists, like artists you kind of like, wow, like BB and CC. I was doing that. Then I did the Johnny Lang and CC and Kev Mo and all that. That was the kind of. But the funny thing about it, again, let's go back to this whole church thing falling through. 2011 was the year I resigned from playing at the church. I was like, I can't do this no more. This is not what I came to Nashville to do. Yeah. And ironically, that's the year when the other artists started. I get calls from the other artists.
Do you think that that new good fortune came out of or had something to do with sort of you stating maybe to the church at least, but also to yourself, that like, this isn't my thing.
Yeah, I had to like really define what I want to be and where I want it to be. And who I want it to be.
Yeah. And so do you by that, do you mean you didn't want to play, like, were you playing at Mount Zion?
Yeah, I was playing Mount Zion. Yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Which if you're listening and you're not familiar, Mount Zion is I'd call it a mega church, but maybe not quite that big.
I remember you used to go sometimes.
Yeah, I've gone a bunch of times. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good to sit at, but I was always on the outside, so I didn't know, church politics in any church are real. So if I was sitting in the pit, man, I can only imagine what I'd hear and what I'd know. And
it was cool, but after a while, I think I'm wired as like, if I'm doing the same thing over and over, after a while I'm like then the questions start like, okay,
yeah, what
am I really doing?
Yeah,
am I progressing? How's this helping my career? How's this?
Yeah,
I'm. That's just how I'm wired. Like,
I mean, I so relate, man. I mean, in my own way, that's why I've had the weird circuitous career that I've had.
I love it
because of that.
I'm so envious of that.
Dude, well, I don't know. I don't even know what you're saying.
Oh man, the courage, man.
Well, it's just to your point. It's just like you don't. I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. And when I was touring a lot, there was 5 years there where I was like doing probably 100 to 150 shows a year, just constantly touring. And at some point I was just like hearing myself say the same banter between songs, and like people would laugh at the same punchline, and then I'd play the song, and I was just like, what am I doing? I'm a freaking clown to myself. Nobody else knew that because it's a different crowd every night. But it's like starting to like lose my self-respect or something. I'm just like, I want to be scared. Like, this is what else is out there.
Yes.
So I think that's what I'm hearing you say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The self-reflection, start self-reflecting, kind of like. So I'm trying to get in this thing of like being self-reflective, but also having gratitude, which is a hard balance for me.
Yeah. For anyone.
And I'm balanced like and then till my wife said, 2 things can be true at once. And I was like, okay.
I mean, I like the way that sounds, but I also don't know what it means.
I can still be self-reflective and want more, and still be grateful for where I am now.
Yeah. I can absolutely.
Yeah. Because sometimes you get guilty. You get guilty of like, well, maybe I'm not grateful enough because I want more, and that's I don't. You should want more,
Yeah. I mean, that's so strange because at the same time, I set this up this way. I was talking to this guy this weekend. He teaches songwriting at Belmont. His name's Drew. Kyle, do you know that? Drew Ramsey.
Drew, I know Drew.
Ramsey.
Yeah.
So Drew, I just ran into him in the hallway, and we were talking, and he was saying that, like everybody's got, he's like, I tell my students, you're sitting out there and we all got this Grammy shaped hole in our heart. We think that we're not going to be okay until we get that Grammy to put in there. And he's like, you find out, like, I guess he won a Grammy.
Yeah, with India,
yeah.
Shannon, maybe a couple people. Him and Shannon Sanders did a lot of stuff.
But to your point, he was just like, that's not like, it didn't mean anything. As soon as it happened, I was like, I thought I should feel validated and whole. And in fact, I feel exactly the same kind of empty. And I've never gotten a Grammy, but I've had my version of those moments where some kind of accolade comes in, and I'm already going like, okay, now that lady's probably going to email me back, and here's my next 3 moves based on. And it's just like that lifestyle is addictive, and it's kind of inevitable to some level if you're doing this out on your own and trying to hustle gigs. But it's very clutch to have a wife to remind you.
Yeah, it is.
Keep your feet on the ground.
Like you don't have to feel guilty about wanting more.
Yeah.
So sometimes your time is up. Sometimes
Yeah, and that never ends.
Yeah.
So you got this. Now you're in a place. You got a family. You got a couple of kids. Do you have 2 kids?
2 kids.
2 kids. Yeah. And so how do you that? Okay. Well, first of all, when did you get married? And I'm not going to pry too hard in the personal side.
2015.
15. Okay, so you're kind of fairly new.
Yeah, I'm fairly new.
Years into this. And then, so when that happened, how did that change your relationship to your career in terms of the kind of gigs
here we battle. Now I have another battle because I'm trying to balance that with my wife and my mistress, aka music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't always like each other, do they?
They don't always like each other. So I'm fighting another battle, how to, and I'm feeling like I'm neglecting music.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I'm neglecting her. Sure. And it kind of really put me in almost a spiral position because I'm like, what have I done? You know.
You woke up after somewhere along the way after you got married.
It was good, you know. It was good at first, and then especially when you start having kids, and the reality sets in. Like, how the hell am I balance this? I've never had to balance anything. I just do what I want. Spontaneous life.
Yeah.
Single music. You don't know what the hell is gonna happen from day to day. Yeah. It's just like, okay, now I have to plan. I'm gonna have to think about would this gig benefit me and my family?
Yeah.
This kind of
Yeah.
But I really want to do the gig because I like playing the music.
Yeah.
But it doesn't benefit my family.
That's tough, man.
It's tough.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how have you, having 8 years of perspective on this, do you have any strategies, or how have you sorted it out, or how have you not sorted it out?
Not to sound cliche, I just trust my instinct. That back to music, how we play music, just trusting your instinct about when we play music. I had to rely on those qualities when I play music. Hey, just trust your instinct, because I don't have I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a formula. But,
so you don't. I mean, you're not taking every gig, but you're taking some gigs.
Yeah.
So some of the ways it's like, okay, if that's paying, then that makes it a lot. Or if Leanne calls, then you probably can take that gig.
Yeah,
it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But have you can't take every gig.
I can't. Yeah.
And you've made peace with that in some way.
Yeah.
You're just like,
I made peace with that.
I'll be home tonight.
Yeah.
Well, that's important.
And another thing, I had to change my perspective about how I view music, because that's not who I am. That's what I do. The music was my identity for a long time. And so when I became an individual again, some things just like don't really fit in my program,
Yeah. That's pretty deep. I mean, is that something you just realized, or you have to do some deep diving?
I did some deep diving and spirituality and different other stuff, and kind of like trying to find who I am. Yeah.
Well, let's get into that, because so I remember when we first hung out. Okay, wait. Here's my colorful anecdote / undying gratitude for you working through one of my character flaws, which was, I don't know if you remember when we met, but I do, and it was at the High Dive when it was open in town, and Lucas had put me in touch with you. Lucas is a mutual friend of ours, and just like a kind of a savant, just like a effortless deep musician, crazy.
Funny guy too.
Funny guy, still funny. And so he like, I would always lean on him to kind of be my unofficial music director. And he's sort of, he's like, man, I got this guy, Anton, he's going to be great. And I'm like, sweet. And maybe email send you the songs or whatever. But I just remember showing up like 10 minutes late to my own rehearsal for my show. We didn't even have time to rehearse. We rehearsed the same day as the show. So we went to the club to run the set before the show. And I just show up like 10. I remember pulling into the parking lot late, and I call Lucas and I'm like, hey man, are you there? Are you getting close? And he's like, we're already set up and on the stage. And I was like, oh fuck. Go in there. And just your face, I was just like, I felt like so embarrassed. And I was also
what did I?
Oh, you were just like, like just the way you are, man. Just kind of like this cat. Okay.
I swear I didn't think anything about it.
I know, it's probably just my own guilt. But I remember the show was really fun and great.
Oh yeah, and, I remember that.
Yeah, it was a fun night.
That's 11 years ago.
Dude, it's crazy.
Wow.
Well, I don't see any gray hair on you yet.
It's coming out.
The gray hair's made first.
Right.
But so yeah, and it's funny because it's like I've watched you from afar, and then once in a while we'd have opportunities to work together. I remember you played on several songs on this record that our mutual friend Tim Lauer produced of mine.
Right.
And
thank you for introducing me.
Yeah, and then you guys went on to do a bunch of stuff, and that was you played on like Greenleaf in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And as Tim always says, man, when you gotta have Anton, you gotta have Anton. Like nobody else will do. So I mean, you never you're not really part of the studio game in the way that Tim was, or some of these like Bukovac or stuff.
No, I wanted to be, but as I evolved as a person, as a musician, I decided not to really pursue it like that. Because I even asked Tim to help me get more in, and hope I don't get in trouble.
I don't think. I mean, also whatever.
I'm never gonna call Anton. But hey, whatever.
Yeah, man. We can also cut anything out. Whatever.
You don't have to.
No,
I'm confident in what I'm saying. Yeah. I just to point, go back to being the individual, and I'd rather be different.
I know that those studio guys. I only know I know Tim pretty well. Even what he says, it's just like it's a lot of the same thing. Yeah. That's your lifestyle. You're hanging out with the same dudes. And, and it's a club, and if you want to be in a club,
absolutely,
then it's great. But if you don't want to be in a club,
right,
you never struck me as a club kind of guy.
No.
So what?
I'm always gonna go. I'm always
gonna go your own way.
Yeah.
That's what I love about you, man. So, So in lieu of the studio gigs, are you mostly? What are you doing right now? Are you out on the road much? And
I'm on the road a little bit, and I'm doing more writing and trying to just coming up with my own ideas,
like songwriting.
Yeah,
and
I do some stuff from home, do some recording from home, and occasionally I get called to do sessions. But
what is this? Is I've never asked anyone this before on the pod, but like if you could write your own ticket, like for this is the dream 5 years from now, like what would that be?
Finding my own artists, and developing that, and just kind of just making music I love. Yeah, not music to. Okay, we gotta make the next hit. I want to make the next impact. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And I mean, this is something I can speak to, is that I too really have had a strong desire to make stuff that was important to me. That's always been the bar.
It's authentic.
Yeah, exactly. But authentic and paying rent aren't always on the same plane.
You're right about that.
and I too am married. And as I have figured this out, like I'm on my own journey of that version of what you were talking about, where I'm like, I'm an individual. Music isn't who I am. It's what. And for me, it's like a thing that I do. I'm still scatterbrained. I'm like, am I more a writer or a musician? I don't even know. But as far as the muse meeting the money game, I am on my own journey of how to channel my interests, my creative interests, and my need for being authentic to myself toward avenues that have at least a chance of paying the bills, while kind of doing other things along the side that do pay the bills in the short run. because, like I want to write, I have a couple of novel ideas, and I think that that's like a big part of who I am and
oh yeah,
where I'm gonna go.
Absolutely. You're an incredible writer.
Yeah, in the short run, that's just like not something I feel like it's not time for that right now. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should just be like, just clear everything off the desk and be like, I'm going to do my dream. I'm going to write the great American novel now. And that's absolutely possible. But waking up day to day, living on planet Earth, I'm like, it's a time and a place for everything. To every season.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting challenge. And it is the challenge, I feel like, for the individual artist.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to like be authentic to oneself. Because
if he's a true artist.
And I try to be careful about that because I know a lot of really talented people. My wife, she has some strong opinions when I start weighing in heavy on what true art is and not. So I would like to hear. A little careful with you. Oh man, I would get Randa in here. She may spice up this pod. But yeah, it's like there's so many really, really talented people that like you're a guy that's at the top of his game to me. Like you can step in any situation and rock the Kasbah. And for many, that would be enough. Like you could be in the studio system.
Oh, absolutely.
Be doing and it'd be like the man. But you would be doing somebody else's. You'd be realizing other people's dreams.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And so that's quite a compromise,
Yeah, it is.
But it's
I'm willing to take it, man.
Yeah, to that I know in self.
I have to because I have to live with myself.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, we got a little bit more to talk about, but maybe we'll break this up with a song, and if that's cool with you,
you
want to try to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll set this up because I just didn't want to do one of my own songs. That'd be really, I don't know, too me-ish or something. But I learned this song that my wife actually likes. And that's a good segue. I'm going to flag that. By this band called the Wild Rivers. And it's called Think About Love. But I did a little piano arrangement for it. So we'll try that. And let's do it.
Guess we got caught up with telling a lie. You're leaving me lonely. Guess his car ended drunk in some bar, yeah, but that was the old me. Remember the night that we slept on the porch? You told me you loved me. You don't ever think about that. Like the light went off, and now you're dead set on giving me up. It's kinda like we're too far gone, and there ain't no use stitching it up. Yeah. We can do a long haul, we can work it out. I know the ride's rough, but try us. You're just thinking about tomorrow. I'm just thinking about. I'm out on the road while you're waiting back home. Yeah, I swear I'll be right back. And you'll find some man with no rock and roll band. Yeah, and maybe you'll like that. Remember the lake when it started to rain, babe? I just held you there. You don't ever think about that. It's kinda like the light went off, and now you're dead set on giving me up. It's talking like we're so far gone, and there ain't no use in stitching it up. We can do a long haul, we can work it out. I know the ride's rough, but try us. You're just thinking about tomorrow. Yeah. just think about tomorrow. I'm just thinking about.
Oh, well, that was really fun. Okay. Hopefully it went well. And this is a good segue, because this song that I that we just played, I like this song a lot, but it has like personal meaning to me, because Randa, my now wife, brought it to my attention when we were first hanging out. We were actually at a party over here at my house, about 7 feet away in this other room, and we're playing cards with our friends, and she was like, I love this Wild River song. She'll love that I just did an impression of her. And so we cue it up, and it's just this great song. But I noticed that and maybe this has always been the case, but like things have to mean something to me
yes.
for me to want to do them.
That's right.
And if it's music or if it's books, and it's like, consequently, I'm really slow with warming to like songs or things in like the current zeitgeist,
yes,
pop
right,
stuff that's
exactly.
flying by all the time.
Exactly.
It's always gone before I get to it.
Right, yeah.
Like 2 years later, man, I love that Carly Pearce song.
Oh yeah.
But it's funny, because it's like it makes everything really slow, and I guess this is it. It's like you just got to be willing and okay with going at your own pace.
That's right. Yeah.
And paying the consequences for that.
Yeah.
But also in reaping the harvest.
Oh yeah.
Of just
yeah.
Rapture in me.
Yeah. I think it outweighs going the slow route. I think it's like a long-term investment, you know.
Man,
I can get the money right now, or I can just get the money over time.
Yeah. Slow build. Man.
That's right.
It's the difference between like a tidal wave and the tide.
That's right.
I've always been a tide guy. Like, you won't see me coming.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're up to your neck.
You'll feel it.
Well, so, okay. I'm kind of curious, and this maybe is bonus part, but you're a really spiritual guy. And when we've ever talked, it's kind of gone that direction. And I've gone, like we've gigged at times when you were maybe you were still at Zion, or you'd gone to Strong Tower.
Right.
I went there a couple times at your suggestion. Mm-hmm. And then I came back and we gigged like maybe 2 years later, and you're just like, over all of that for now. Yeah. And I'm just curious, where are you at right now?
I'm in a period of questioning everything.
From the inside or from the outside, or
from all sides?
Yeah. What are you reading right now, or what are you?
The book I'm reading now is Finding the Third Eye.
Tell me more.
I just started, but it's talking about finding that voice within, kind of like looking, it's not looking outside of yourself, but finding, and how so much stuff is going on until it stops people from thinking. So you just in the matrix, kind of just going, but you never sit down and think.
Step
why?
outside the maelstrom.
Yeah. So that's
that's to what you were saying earlier about the instinct and trusting your instinct and looking within. I know it's very easy especially with our devices, to get caught up in the constant stream, and you're all of a sudden sort of your thinking's being done for you.
That's right.
In a way.
That's right.
And it is, to use a biblical analogy, something that's always been compelling to me is seeking out that still small voice. Mm-hmm. And that is hard to find in this loud world.
It's very loud. It's so much. My wife and I was talking, like, someone called today about delivering a couch, and we had to do so much investigating to find out if this number is real.
Oh, wow.
If it's not,
if you're being played.
I think we're supposed to be getting a couch, but let's find out if we call this number, something else gonna happen.
Yeah.
crazy.
just trying to stay alive in this world. Not get robbed.
Trying to sift out what's real and what's not,
Yeah. Man, I can totally relate. I mean, it's amazing how on the daily, I feel like you're just constantly waylaid by just the obligation of tasks to keep your life going. And that only gets, I imagine that when we have kids, it's going to be even more that way. I'm looking at a guy who knows it firsthand. But I think that a big part of this podcast too is to speak toward this need that I feel like everybody has to honor that still small voice and that little creative prick inside of us. So it's like, hey, man, go check that out. Because it's so much easier to not listen to it and to not do anything on its behalf, because it's a gamble every time you sit down to write a song or write a story or do anything creative, because the end result actually likely will not be that great.
Right.
But there's a chance it will. And if you do it 100 times, maybe 3 of them, they'll be like, oh, that's
and then you have to worry about people hating it.
Oh God, this isn't even putting,
just criticizing. It's like, I'm to the point now, I'm like, I just like art, man. It's like what I might like, you may not like, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I'm at now. Like me and Kev Mo had this conversation. What is good and evil? Basically, like the dualities of stuff. Like what is good and bad. His whole analogy is like he lost everything in the flood, but he got a studio because of the flood. So we focusing on what's good and what's bad out of it, but it's like it's almost like an illusion that we have created, and you have 2 dualities to help us get to a place, and we're picking a side. That's what we were talking about earlier. Instead of embracing both aspects of life, we just kind of choose. We feel like we got to pick and choose what get on the side.
Well, and also we're rewarded, I feel like, in the short term for picking a side. Because then all of a sudden you got all these people to rally with. You got your tribe now, and you can be mad at them. And man, I've always tried. So try to stay away from that.
So was the flood was a bad thing, or was it was a good thing? I don't. He got something out of it because of a bad situation. It's like bad record, good record. It's like,
I mean, it's easy. I can really relate to this when you're talking about somebody. No, I can relate to it when you're talking about somebody else. It makes a lot of sense when you're talking about somebody else. It's really hard to firsthand. I'm like, man, I take it all personally. I'm afraid all the time in my way of just like the creative thing. Like on the daily, I am afraid, and it's embarrassing in advance, and I'm always just like, God, what am I can't write, I can't act, I still don't know how to write a song, and it's
constant fear,
and maybe some people can't relate to that. I've talked to really creative people who are like, man, I don't know, I just do it. I'm like, that's great. I mean, I do too, but not before walking through the fire, paralyzing self-doubt.
You're scared to let anybody hear your stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's here on them.
That's it. That's it.
Take. That's a risk I'm not willing to take.
Right.
Nice one, Jamie.
Man, we got a letter in the mail last week about insurance. We just bought a new car, so it's like call this number to like make sure that the insurance goes through. Like she called, it's like total spam.
Yeah.
It's like I thought we already got the warranty.
Man. Yeah. They're getting
letterhead and everything. It was but anyway, all right.
That's crazy. So I'm thinking about this, chasing your own thing, having a wife, and for some reason, having a partner in this life to keep you.
By the way, better, easiest way to say it. I couldn't believe when you got married.
Like that somebody would take me?
Because you were just always on the go. You just like,
yeah.
So when you said you were getting married, I was like, I've got to meet her. She's special. Man. She's definitely special.
Dude, she is, man. She is the best. And we have, I mean, pinch me, and who knows? I realize that things change and nothing stays the same. But you enjoy it while you can. And I would say, like, in all honesty, like, I'm having a great time with my partner in life. And we have, like, on the daily, we're just like on this shared adventure, and definitely there's some rubs,
absolutely.
But it's funny because I was shocked as well. I really was like, and I'm 47. I was 45 when I got married. We started dating when I was 44, and I was just like really in a place in my life where I'm like, well, maybe I'm just like a solo guy, I'm just gonna, and that's okay. And I was, it was okay. I was kind of like, it'd be nice to have a family, but I just can't even see it. I can't even see it. Like I noticed that because I really am interested in this creative lifestyle. To a point where I don't think, it's like too late for me to, forget being a doctor or a professional. It's like too late for me to learn how to cook.
Yeah, right.
Like, this is what I do. And it doesn't generate a lot of income. It's just like, I'm doing okay though. And
not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Exactly. But that not yet, it takes a special person to
absolutely.
And in the meantime, we have a really great simpatico balance. She's creative too, and she's a lot more organized than me, and that kind of interplay.
Yeah.
And I also, for me too, I've chosen to. I'm all in, and if you're all in on something, and there's no way out, that's just it.
Yeah.
Like it answers every question in advance.
Absolutely.
In a way, it's just like, okay, well, how are we going to work this one out now?
Absolutely.
Because I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'll kill you if you. It doesn't come to that too often.
I don't know if you should say that. This might be evidence.
Future evidence. Bury the footage. But no, man, she's great, and it's just like it's about having some stuff that we can do, like we do movies together.
Oh, wow. Really?
She produced Morse Code.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I didn't know that.
She saved Morse Code. Like I was sitting on a little bit of money for several months while we were trying to figure out what to do. And this is right after we got married, and I was in a bad way, man. That was probably like professionally as low as I've ever felt, because I just didn't know what to do next. And I was this like feeling of stagnancy. It's weighing on me hard. And she was finally like, ugh, do you want me to help you produce it? I was just like, would you? And man, she took it and ran.
Amazing.
She cast the whole thing. Yeah, she was on set.
I thought she was like totally out of the creative world. I didn't know.
No, she has a straight gig right now, but we're trying to get her out of it. And
wow.
No, she books more often than I do as an actor. She's been she's been in a couple TV shows.
Wow.
And, she got her whole thing, man. I don't know what she's doing with me,
man.
But yeah, man, I remember when we produced Morse. I mean, it was like 7 days of shooting, and it was the really long days, and we stretched that money way longer than we should have been able to, and so consequently, it's just like pretty stressful, and that was trying. Like, so we're working together during the day, and she's just overwhelmed with like. Cause like I'm I'm sitting there acting, and like having fun. I mean, inside I was freaking out the whole time, but she was just like making sure the whole thing is. We would just come home at like 2 a.m, and she would just like cry on the kitchen table, and I'd like console her, and then we'd be back out there at 6, doing it all over again.
Amazing.
But like we look back on it, and it's just like some of the best times of our lives, because it was just like doing something hard together.
Yeah.
Every time you do something hard, that feeling on the other side of it is like, well, win or lose, I just did that. And I feel like, anytime people can put themselves up to something they're not sure they can do, and then they find that most of the time they do it.
Yeah.
And then you're a little stronger and you learn a little more. Anyway, to do that together with somebody.
Oh,
that's
man,
cool.
that's
We'll
crazy.
see how it all goes. So far, so good.
Oh, it'll be all right.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I really like to talk about the philosophical side of this all, and you're a great cat to do that with. And so I know that you're just reading Finding the Third Eye.
Mm-hmm.
And who wrote that?
What's her name? I can't remember.
And is it from
It's an older book.
Probably some people in the comments can chime in and help us remember. And is it from a psychologist's perspective, or is it more from a spiritual side? Or
More from a spiritual kind of side, and science too, because it talks about vibration and energy and how that everything is made up of energy and vibrations.
And how does that translate into your kids? Like, what do you teach your kids? Are you teaching them?
I teach my kids to look within inside themselves, and that they can manifest anything, because everything is based. If everything is based off energy, then all I have to do is have the right energy. Or the Bible, the scripture, the Bible. So a man thinketh, so is he. So just having that right energy. What are you thinking? What are you attracting with your thoughts? And so that's been able to bring me more peace than I have when I was searching. And nothing against the traditional ways of knowing church or whatever, Actually, it has probably expanded my understanding of that, just in a different, So I don't knock the whole. It's not that I don't believe this. I don't believe. It's just I'm expanded and understanding that the power is a lot of the power is in me. How I think. I create my own reality with my thoughts.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. And as a regular Catholic goer,
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. We go every Sunday.
I didn't know.
And I'm like, I still sit there. Randy was out of town this week, and I went by myself. And to be honest, I'm kind of like, there's a large part of me that's like, what the hell am I doing here? 'Cause I'm really, and I don't exactly know how to answer that question. There's a couple of things, and one would be, on a practical level, I value that hour that's set aside from regular life to come and sit in the presence of something mysterious.
That's right.
And I leave my phone in the car,
right?
And it's a time apart,
right?
And it's a sacred time, whatever. And that's how I'm choosing to to demarcate that sacred time right now. But as for like the whole, I think if somebody were to make me choose allegiances between God or people, I'm kind of on people's side. Let me think about how to articulate that.
But then you can expand it as we are aspect of God.
Yeah, we are an aspect of God, but it's like it's so mysterious that I don't. And I also just think that especially in the context of this like present conflict in the Middle East, it's so religiously driven and tribally driven, and the whole there's a part of it that's I'm not going to go deep on this, but like the Zionist movement was hastened by evangelical Christians in America wanting to bring the second coming of Christ there, and in order for that to happen, we got to get the Jews back in their homeland.
That's right. We have to. It's almost like you have to recreate the story.
You have to recreate the story. We got to fulfill the story. We're going to help God fulfill the story, and that like drove a wedge in between. Dislocated a whole group of people in the process of doing that. And it wasn't like something that sort of occurred naturally. It was willed by people from a religious context, willed by Christians so you got Christians, Jews, and Muslims they cannot get along. And I'm like, I can't hang by that, you know. And it's like when you get into the Christian trip of like, it's our way or hell. I'm like, you know what? I just can't do it. I don't really care.
It's almost like the question I have is like, man, I have more compassion. Like I would never send someone to hell.
Yeah, there's that too. I mean, but it's okay. There's all that, and then the other side of it. So like, why the hell would you go to the church every week, dude? Participate in the bodily eating of Christ, you know. And I don't, because I'm not actually Catholic. I sit there and cross my arms, and we've gone through Catholic catechism. Randy and I,
really?
We did. It was so annoying. Who cares? It was annoying. Every Tuesday night, sitting there like listening, and
I went to my first mass in Italy.
You did?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was interesting.
It's interesting.
I don't know.
It's a pageant.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a ceremony kind of.
Yeah. It's one thing I like about it is it's not for you. It's not the church. The Catholic Church is not about you. It doesn't pander to your tastes. It doesn't change because of the whims of what people want.
That's right. Yeah.
Where I see like Protestant churches are all like competing with each other.
Wow, that's
for
interesting.
attention.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, and I watched that happen in my own church.
That's interesting view. Yeah,
growing up,
I
was in a small town. This little Nazarene church in a small town in Idaho, and when I was a little kid, it was very humble. You know, it was just like would sing the hymns out of the book. There was a lady playing the piano, and maybe a guy playing organ too if he was there. But that's all it was. And then over time, I remember it's like late 80s or something. All of a sudden, there's kind of some more microphones on stage, and then monitors, and then drum kit comes in, and all of a sudden like half the congregation seemed like they were up on stage. And I was just like, what is going on here? Is this like a show? I mean, you know, and this isn't a criticism about Mount Zion, but I mean, that is the slickest production. They got a camera on the crane arm.
Marketing. So it's marketing.
There's a lot of marketing, but the show, the church show itself is just like, the music is incredible. And then, and it's fantastic. You got 100 people up there singing in the choir and everything. And there's a part of me, and I'm not judging this because it's to each his own and it's not for me to say, but there's a part of me that will always be that little kid with the lady playing the piano that well. And we're just singing out these hymns. And that's like when I go to the Catholic Church, I get that same, it touches that same thing where it's just like there's no show. In the sense, but you know, there's a lot of show too. The guys got robes, the costumes are way better, whatever. But anyway, like when I think back, I'm like, okay, well, why do you go? Or why am I compelled to participate in the traditional version of a faith system that I grew up in? I think a huge part of it is because my parents are amazing. My father in particular is just an undeniable good person. And to this day, you know, my parents are like in their 70s and they still go weekly to visit people in the hospital. They visit old people in the hospital. They're freaking in their 70s. And that's how they lived. That's how they've always lived. And that was the example that I was shown. And that bar is high. You know, and that's
interesting you say that, because I play at a church by TSU. It's an older congregation. And that's why I think I like going, because it's nostalgic. Because it reminds me of my grandparents. You know, I just like to feel they're nice people. They're great people. They're not concerned about the show. It's just like, we just here to really fellowship and see people we haven't seen all week. And I admire that.
You can get behind that.
I can get behind that. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, dude. I'm here to talk to you. Yeah, man. It's a mystery why we do anything that we do. It's a mystery what this life is. And I find that the more I live there, I like to think that the gentler I am with other people, with people close to me and the people that are far from me, particularly those who think differently than me. Because the second I get really sure of myself, I promptly turn into an asshole.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, that guy, ooh, them. And religion is very difficult in that sense, because it does have this way of like we know.
Yeah. We know all the answers. Yeah.
Follow us, and then with we know the way implies they don't.
Yeah.
So
when I started looking at other things, I found out, because I had that, I was very like into Christianity or whatever. Very. I would. I'm embarrassed to say, but I would use the Bible for my good arguments.
Yeah, I mean,
Bible thump a little bit.
Many,
the good old Christian way. Bible thump. Use the scripture to make people feel like I'm gonna win this argument. With a good Bible verse, there's no better. There's no better win.
My problem was I could never remember any of them.
But man, the more I thought I knew, the more I started researching, the more I figured I didn't know anything.
That's the thing about learning.
325 is, and I see a council when it's all. I like to say when Christianity was incorporated. Mm-hmm. What about the 1,000 years before that? What were they thinking? Yeah. How did they view life?
Yeah,
it's a short period of when you look at things.
Totally, and I mean, there's many ways to the top of the mountain.
That's right.
There's many ways to express reverence for the Lord.
And there are many ways and many expressions and many cultures that would never experience our way, the Western way of spirituality. Which
is often really caught up with capitalism too. The Western Christian.
Have you read? I've read the book One Nation Under God. Like when you read One Nation Under God, he's a historian. There's no opinions. He just lays out, like after the New Deal, how business owners lost their respect from the people. So they had to find a group of people that the people respected, which were clergy. Mm. So business people, because of the New Deal, to fight back the New Deal, they got in bed with pastors. So they started marrying Christianity and capitalism. Mm. Yeah. And out of that became One Nation Under God. They put that in the Pledge of Allegiance, which wasn't there before. It's in the 40s. It wasn't there before that. Mm. They started the National Prayer Breakfast, which is not really a spiritual event.
It's a political event.
It's very, yeah.
That whole idea of marrying religious or faith, Christian faith with politics is fairly abhorrent to me. And it was one thing that my folks really stayed away from. My dad was not. He didn't play. He wasn't interested in that. And for the same reason, I'm not either, because then you're suddenly playing the power game, and then you're invoking God to commandeer or to realize your version of how you think life should be. Through political fiat. And it's like, that's not what Jesus did. Render unto Caesar.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Well, this has got a little crazy. Keep practicing, kids. And, focus on getting better at music, and everything will be okay, or at least interesting. But my man, thank you so much for playing with me and for talking with me and just sharing a little of your story.
You leading me down some different roads,
Yeah, we're just getting to know each other. We don't get to ever have coffee, and because last time we did, my car broke.
He didn't show up.
I didn't show up, so I had to have you on my podcast. It's a consolation prize for me. But yeah, dude, thank you so much, and hopefully we can get together again before too long.
Thanks for having me.
Man, that's great to hear about your new aspirations, or your realizing aspirations to like find new talent and develop that. You're a very young man still, and I think that great things are ahead of you.
How old are you?
I'm 47.
I'm right behind you, 46.
Yeah, dude.
We still young,
right?
We're a couple
kids out there, man. Taking our shots. All right, man.
Still living on the edge, right?
As long as my wife will let me. All right, take it easy.
Peace.
Hey, thanks for watching. Click the like and subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. You can click over here to watch another complete episode, or click here to watch a playlist of the songs of the Morse Code Podcast. You know you want to. You know you want to. You know you want to.